Alright guys, today we're just going to be focusing on coloring in our shapes, and also I'm going to teach you how to draw in a background. Now, if you did not finish drawing your shapes, I do recommend you drawing them first, and I will have posted that video in class, so please work on that. But right now I'm just concerned about us having 5 shapes in our drawing. So, the one thing that we want to remember about shading in our objects is that our light source is coming from the vanishing point. So even if you do want to draw a circle here, in the way you would do that, you'd right click over the rectangle tool and then find the ellipse tool and then click and drag and put that circle there as a reminder of that is where the light is coming from. That will help remind you how to shade these objects. Now, to shade your, as a quick reminder, to shade a box, you would click on the front shape of the box, and we determined that the front is going to be the darkest. We're going to double click over here on the fill, and we're going to figure out what color we want to do. I'll do maybe a blue. I'll do kind of a darker blue. And then once that's filled in, now we determined that the bottom of the box up here is the lightest. So now the top of the box here is going to be the lightest. This has to be symmetrical. So whatever shading assignments you assign up here, you're going to assign the same shading assignments down here. So we're going to click on here, going to click on our eyedrop tool, pick up this color. This is going to be the lightest, and actually probably would be easier to do the medium and then the light, but we'll just try it out like this. So I'm going to pick a really light blue and shade like that. Whoa. Alright, my computer's being funky. Let's see here. Sorry guys. There we go. So now my top is light, and now my side is going to be medium. So I'm going to select my side, and I'm going to click on the original color, and then I just want to find a shade that's in between the top and the front, which I'm going to say is probably about here. Press OK. Now, to shade your ellipse up here, or sorry, your cylinder, not ellipse, the front is obviously going to be dark. So you're going to double click and pick a color. So let's do green. And then the bottom is going to be light. Now this is round, and technically there's a whole bunch of other shading options that we could do, but this is kind of our shading 101 lesson, so we're not going to get too crazy about that. But I'm going to pick up the color that I used for the front shape, and then I'm going to make the shape below it lighter. So I'm going to double click on the fill, hopefully it's going to work. Find a lighter shade of green, press OK. Now you're going to notice that this looks kind of weird, because now we have this kind of straight line around, or going over the front of our circle. So all we got to do now is just change the arrangement of the shapes, meaning you can take certain shapes and move them to the front or move them to the back. So I'm going to click on my circle. I'm going to right click, go to Arrange, Bring to Front, and that is going to bring the front part of our circle to the front. Now, for our shape over here, there's going to be kind of a dark, a medium, a light, and kind of a medium in the middle. So we have our dark, and then the shape, if you only have two sides up here, then the very, very top will be your light, and this side will be your medium. If you have three sides like I do, this is going to be medium. This is going to be your medium 2, which is a little bit lighter, and then this is going to be the lightest. So I'm going to click on the shape that is furthest away and kind of more facing towards the bottom of the paper. I'm going to color that in. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter, but just a little bit, because again, we have other shapes that we need to fill in. Next, I'm going to click the shape that's kind of following this diagonal line going down. I'm going to select that. I'm going to make that a little bit lighter. And then up here, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool and select that. I'm going to make that lighter as well. So you can see now that there is some shading values there. I would almost make this a little bit lighter because of the shade of these up here. Make them both a little bit lighter. So for those of you who have done that and who have breezed through this because you are Illustrator masters, we're going to talk about how you're going to fill in the top and the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a rectangle, and we're going to make that rectangle go across the entire top of the page all the way down to our horizon line. And that's just using the regular rectangle tool. I click on that, and I'm going to click and drag all the way to here. Now we're going to bust out the gradient tool, which is right here underneath the fill and the stroke tool. And remember, there's a few things that we need to do to fix the, that we can play around and manipulate the gradient tool. So the first thing that we need to do is we're going to play with the angle. Right here, there's a little angle symbol, and it says 0%. Now, the light is coming from the very middle of our page. So it's going to be the lightest there, and then as you go up, it's going to get darker and darker. So you're going to click on this, and we're going to click on 90 degrees. And what that does now is that makes the gradient go from our light source, from light all the way to dark. Now, I don't know what a black and white background might look like. Let's see what it's going to look like. I'm not really thrilled with that. So what you're going to do is I would pick a color, and remember, when we start off with the gradient, it's always in grayscale. So you have to double click on the gradient slider, which is right here. And then there's this little menu option right here with these three lines and these three dots. You're going to pick CMYK, and that's going to give you a color. So I think I'm going to make mine kind of look like a blue sky or so. Now remember, you can play with how much blue and how much white you have on one side. If you want to get creative, You can add other colors as well here, but I wouldn't go too crazy just because we don't want it to kind of overpower the picture. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select this rectangle. I'm pretty happy with how this looks. We're going to right click, arrange, send to back. So now what that has done is that has made the shapes that I drew come forward, and now this part is in the background. Now, we obviously need some shading here for the lower ground. And luckily for you, and again, doing this on the computer is a lot easier because it makes coloring in things a lot faster. We're going to click on that same rectangle that we made. We're going to Control C, Control V. So that is going to make a second rectangle. We're going to go over here to what's called the rotate tool. It's right underneath the shaper tool. Going to click on that rotate tool. We're going to click on one of the corners, so one of the anchors on the corners that of the rectangle. Hold down Shift, and we're going to turn our shape around 90 degrees, or yeah, I guess 90 degrees. We're gonna essentially rotate it around this way. We're gonna line this up with the bottom of our paper. We're going to right click, arrange, and then send to back. Now, one thing too, guys, click on the rectangle. Make sure that your stroke is invisible. So you'll want to click on the stroke and click on none. And then same thing over here. Click on the stroke and click on none. So that will, and we have our horizon line there still, but that will show you, that will make it just look a little more realistic. Okay? So guys, that concludes today's class. If you didn't get all of this done, that's okay. Again, we are working on this on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I'm going to start talking about what we're going to do with our to finish off this project. So we'll have some options there, and we should be done with this in probably a few weeks. All right, guys, you're doing awesome. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. See you later.